madalas simula pa ng Spanish era. Our resourceful ancestors used dried leaves and wove them into bayong bags. Ang mga traditional bayong ay gawa sa buri leaves in the Visayas at pandan leaves naman sa Luzon. But these days, the materials used for making it vary from plastic to other organic materials. Ngayon, mukhang sikat na naman ang bayong bags, nationally and internationally. It was seen on New York Times Square billboards during the 2022 New York Fashion Week. Pero kahit naging sikat na fashion statement na ito, ang bayong, bit-bit pa rin lagi ng tita ko tuwing siya'y namamalengke. And why not? It's so convenient to use and an environmentally friendly alternative to plastic shopping bags. Kaya't siguruhing may bayong na nakatabi para sa mga pinamili.
Yan ang Pinoy kultura because our culture is cool. Time to celebrate kulturang Pinoy. Tradisyon, musika, sining, literatura at iba pa. Anything and everything fun and Filipino. Ito ang Pinoy kultura.
Masaya at makulay ang ating buhay. Kitang-kita yan sa likha ng ating national artist na si Larry Alcala. A slice of life served with a dash of laughter, angry neighbors, nosy kids, pretty women, and just about anything na pwede mangyari sa simbahan, sa pistahan, sa sakayan, sa sementeryo, at sa bakuran. Larry Alcala, a well-known editorial cartoonist and illustrator who captured the hearts of the Filipinos. His work is a reflection of the many unique aspects of everyday life in the Philippines. Oh, nahanap niyo na ba si Larry Alcala?
Yan ang Pinoy kultura because our culture is cool. To know more about their life, work, and contributions, visit the National Commission for Culture and the Arts at ncca.gov.ph.
This is a public service announcement.
Sa nararanasan nating matinding init ng panahon, maging ligtas at iwasan ang heat exhaustion at heat stroke. Regular na uminom ng tubig. Magsuot ng light-colored, presko at maluluwag na damit. Siguruhing may sapat na ventilasyon ang inyong mga tahanan. Maligo para mapreskohan ang katawan. Basahin na malamig na tubig ang balat kapag nagsimulang makaramdam ng pagkahilo o pag-init ng katawan. Kung maaari, huwag lumabas sa mga oras ng pinakamainit na sikat ng araw, partikular sa pagitan ng alas 11 ng umaga hanggang alas 3 ng hapon. Kung lalabas naman, ay magdala ng payong, pamaypay o minifan, face towel at huwag kalimutan ang inuming tubig. Kapag nakaramdam ng pagkahapo, matinding pagkahilo, panghihina o may kakilalang nawala ng malay dahil sa init ng panahon, agad na magtungo at humingi ng tulong sa pinakamalapit na health facility sa inyong lugar.
This is a public service announcement. Public service announcement from PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, and Radyo Pilipinas.
Traffic sa araw-araw na lang ay napakalala at talaga namang nakakaubos ng oras. Kaya naman ang problemang ito ay isa sa mga nais talagang bigyan solusyon ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
What the President really wants is a comprehensive, holistic approach to solving the traffic problem. Hindi yung piecemeal approach, no? As has been the case all these years. No?
Ito ang ibinahagi ni NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan matapos ang cabinet meeting na pinangunahan ng Pangulo para solusyonan ang malalang traffic at isaayos ang transportasyon sa Metro Manila dahil malaki na ang epekto nito sa ekonomiya ng bansa.
For example, in the planning of our transport system, we should be looking at intermodal transport system and see how they operate efficiently as a whole. We are building now the subway. We are building other expressways, bridges connecting Bataan and Cavite, and so on. But this have to be seen in the context of all the other transport system, including bike lanes, motorcycle lanes like that, and as well as the feeder roads, and including the location of industries, residences, and so on. And that's the direction of the President.
Para sa iba pang mga balita at impormasyon, manatiling nakatutok. Tapat sa pag-uulat, Radyo Pilipinas. Ngayong panahon ng El Niño, narito ang ilan sa maaari nating gawin para makapagtipid ng tubig. Laging siguruhing sarado at walang tulo ang mga gripo.
Serving the Republic of the Philippines for more than 75 years. Ito po ang Presidential Broadcast Service. Pakinggan, panoorin, agaran in real time, o balikan sa pag-scroll up and down. Mga balitang dapat malaman Impormasyong tunay at napakikinabangan. Saan ka man sa buong kapuluan. Bangon sa bagong sigla. Kababayan. Kasama ang social media. Powered broadcaster ng bagong mamamayan. Tapat sa pag-uulat. Ito po ang Presidential Broadcast Service sa Metro Cebu. Radyo Pilipinas, 576 AM.
Oras sa DYMR, Radyo Pilipinas, Cebu, alas 9:07 sa kabuntagon, kahapono naman noon, sa kabuntagon, malipayong adlaw nga Huwebes kaninyong tanan, Abril 11. Balik na tas eskwela og trabaho alang sa itong mga estudyante og mga empleyado kay humana ang duha ka adlaw nga piyesta opisyal, duha ka adlaw nga way trabaho og way klase tungod kay araw ng kagitingan yatong Abril 9 og Idil Fitr or kining pagtapos sa holy month of Ramadan kagahapong adlaw gani dunay kalihukan ang atong nagkalain-lain nga mga Office of the Muslim Affairs ilabi na dinhi sa Dakwen sa Sugbo kadtong giadtuan ni Miss Angeli tahapal kagahapon sa Plaza Independencia. Nagtapok atong mga kaigsuonang Muslim nga anian ang kabase sa Sugbo alang sa dakong kasaulugan. Anang sa masayod ang maong kasaulugan sa atong mga kaigsuonang Muslim mao ni ang ilahang higayon nga maghinatagay ni sila og regalo. And then dunay mga panagtapok sa isigbanay mga managhigalaay ang atong mga kaigsuonan nga mga Muslim. Gani, doon na to'y halal nga murag panag-salo-salo sa halal food din ha sa may Plaza Independencia og sa nagalain-lain nga mga Muslim communities dinhi sa Sugbo ug sa Central Visayas. So Eid Mubarak sa atong mga kaigsuonan kagahapong adlaw. Ang nasod sa Brunei karong adlaw ang ilang Idil Fitr. So karon pagitapos ang holy month of Ramadan or ang ilang fasting sa Ramadan mga kaigsuonan. Nganong lain-lain man kana depende kana sa ilang Muslim elder o leader, depende usab sa moon sighting. Og nasayod man ta nga ang nagkalain-lain man gani do naman tay diferensya sa oras gani sa nagkalain-lain nga mga dapit tibuok ka kalibutan. So ang karong adlaw pa ang Idil Fitr sa Brunei Darussalam. Usa ka Muslim nga state dinhi sa Southeast Asia. Usab mga kaigsuonan kagahapon ang atua dinhi sa Pilipinas ug sa uban pang mga sikbit nga mga nasod ug mga Arab countries kagahapon ang ilang Idil Fitr. So malipayong pagsaulog sa Idil Fitr sa mga kaigsuonan natong Muslim. Diin ang dunay mga dili lamang ni sila exclusive o recognized dinha sa may Mindanao nga habig apan doon na natay mga established nga mga Muslim communities even dinhi sa ato sa Central Visayas and dito sa kauluhan sa National Capital Region. Medyo doon gyud gihapoy mga magduha-duha o dunay gamay nga diskriminasyon apan gisiguro kana sa atong national government ingon man lakip ang mga local government unit nga dili i-discriminate ang atong mga kaigsuonang Muslim nga mo relocate or di ba kaha kining mga gitawag nilag balik Islam kining mo convert gikan sa lain nga tinuhuan ngadto sa Muslim. So hinaot nga duna ratay panagrespeto ay sa atong pagka-Pilipino kay parehas ratang tanan mga Pilipino parehas sa tanan nga naningkamot mahimong maayong tao. So regardless of your religion or you even practice it or none at all, ang importante wa tay natamakan nga balaod, wa tay natamakan nga mga katungod og kining wa ta mamintaha mga kaigsuonan. Maningkamot ang mga manginabuhi sa maayong paagi. May buntag day sa tanan nato nga mga kaigsuonan nga na minaw sa ilang mga radyo pinaagi sa 576 kHz sa AM band og sa atong mga higala nga anaa online sa atong pagsibya sa Facebook page ug sa atong YouTube channel Radyo Pilipinas Cebu. May buntag kaninyo, daghang salamat sa inyong pagpaminaw og mao kini ang programang Government Online. Ako inyong higala JESSA AGUA-YLANAN nga temporaryong muhulip sa regular host ning maong programa nga si Carmel Matus Pedrosa. Mga kaigsuunan. Kumusta man ang inyong simana so far? Naanatas kaduhang simana sa Abril, no? Paspas kaayo para buyag ang dagan sa panahon. Hinaot, by now, naginahinay na rainproof o waterproof sa atong mga panimay, sa atong mga dapit din kay tungod sa taliwala sa atong nasinati nga El Nino, gani week El Nino na ni karon ang nasinati. Bisag almuot siya, week El Nino ra gihapon kini, dunay umaabot nga dunay umaabot nga La Nina or ang kining pag-uwan na pod, mubanos na pod ang pag-uwan. So hinaot ato na nang na-check atong mga kisame, atop o kining atong mga drainage din na-check ba na siya kay mo manay daling mo awas kung dunay bulog sa uwan kay kining sa La Nina do naman ni abnormally high or above normal nga rainfall kung pagbuhos sa ulan mga kaigsuonan. Alas 9:13 ato sang announce pagpaminaw atong unang set sa atong mga pahinumdom sa atong pagbalik atong pakisayran ang gipahigayon nga briefing didto sa Washington DC sa nasod sa Amerika sa Philippine Media Delegation sa Embassy of the Philippines dito sa Washington DC. Kauban ang National Security Council o ang Coordinator for Strategic Communications sa National Security Council sa White House nga si John Kirby. Ato kanang pakisayran tungod kay alang sa wa masayon na naakaron sa Amerika ang atong presidente nga si President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. sa Washington DC to be particular April 10 ngadto sa April 14. So sunod semana pa mabalik sa atong nasod ang atong presidente. Mubalik ang Government Online.
This is a public service announcement.
Sa nararanasan nating matinding init ng panahon, maging ligtas at iwasan ang heat exhaustion at heat stroke. Regular na uminom ng tubig. Magsuot ng light-colored, presko at maluluwag na damit. Siguruhing may sapat na ventilasyon ang inyong mga tahanan. Maligo para mapreskuhan ang katawan. Basahin na malamig na tubig ang balat kapag nagsimulang makaramdam ng pagkahilo o pag-init ng katawan. Kung maaari, huwag lumabas sa mga oras ng pinakamainit na sikat ng araw, partikular sa pagitan ng alas 11 ng umaga hanggang alas 3 ng hapon. Kung lalabas naman, ay magdala ng payong, pamaypay o minifan, face towel at huwag kalimutan ang inuming tubig. Kapag nakaramdam ng pagkahapo, matinding pagkahilo, panghihina o may kakilalang nawalan ng malay dahil sa init ng panahon, agad na magtungo at humingi ng tulong sa pinakamalapit na health facility sa inyong lugar.
This is a public service announcement. From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service and Radyo Pilipinas. This is a public service announcement.
Ingatan ang sarili mula sa banta ng pertussis. Ang pertussis o whooping cough ay isang nakakahawang bacterial respiratory infection na dulot ng bacterium Bordetella pertussis o Bordetella parapertussis. Ito ay may sintomas ng pag-ubo na may kasamang mababang lagnat at sipon na maaaring magtagal ng 1 hanggang 2 linggo. Madali itong naipapasa sa kahit kanino sa pamamagitan ng pag-ubo at pagbahing. Ang pertussis ay nagagamot ng antibiotics pero mas mainam pa rin na magpabakuna para ito ay maiwasan. Ayon sa Department of Health, inaasahan na darating mga karagdagang bakuna sa mga susunod na buwan. Gayunpaman, una nang protektahan ang sarili na huwag mahawa o makahawa ng pertussis sa pamamagitan ng pagpapanatili ng good personal hygiene o pagsusuot ng face mask.
This is a public service announcement. From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service and Radyo Pilipinas. This is a public service announcement.
Good news! Isa ng ganap na batas, ang Republic Act No. 11984 o ang No Permit, No Exam Prohibition Act. Matapos itong lagdaan ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. Sa ilalim nito, ang lahat ng estudyante na may unpaid school fees ay papayagan ng makakuha ng periodic at final exams. Sakop nito ang lahat ng public at private basic institutions o K-12, higher educational institutions o HEIs at technical vocational institutions o TVIs. Naninindigan ang ating pamahalaan sa karapatan ng bawat batang Pilipino na magkaroon ng maayos na edukasyon at hindi ito dapat mahadlangan dahil sa mga hindi mabayarang school fees.
This is a public service announcement. From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service and Radyo Pilipinas.
Good news para sa ating mga senior citizens na benepisyaryo ng DSWD Social Pension.
Finally, ay funded na po yung increase para doon sa ating Senior Citizens Welfare Act. Ito yung ating para sa mga indigent natin, yung mga social pensioners.
Ito ang ibinalita ni DSWD spokesperson Asek Romel Lopez kung saan 4 million indigent pensioners ang entitled dito.
From 500 pesos ngayong taon po, fiscal year, ay nag-increase na ito sa 1,000 pesos. So sila po yung makakatanggap nito. Semestral po ito, 2 bigayan po ito sa loob ng isang taon. So makakatanggap po sila ng 6,000 piso sa unang SEM and then another 6,000 doon sa pangalawang SEM.
Para sa iba pang mga balita at impormasyon, manatiling nakatutok. Tapat sa pag-uulat, Radyo Pilipinas. Bagong Pilipinas para sa bawat Pilipino.
Bagong Pilipinas is a master plan for genuine development of benefits of all our people. It is a call for transformation. The transformation of our idea of being a Filipino and the transformation of our economy, of governance, of society.
Hindi puro salita, pamahalaan ay magsisilbing halimbawa.
Sa bagong Pilipinas, ang pagbabago ay nagsisimula sa pamahalaan.
Pagsiservisyo sa publiko, tapat, mapagkakatiwalaan at dekalidad.
Huwag nating pahirapan ang taong bayan. Bagkus suklian ang kanilang tiwala ng magalang na panunungkulang.
Sa nagkakaisang gobyerno at mamamayan, malinaw ang payapa at maunlad na bukas.
Sa bagong Pilipinas, may pag-asa ang lahat. Ang pag-asa ng bayan ay nasa ating lahat.
Isang mensahe mula sa Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas.
Kini ang Government Online. Kauban si JESSA AGUA-YLANAN sa Radyo Pilipinas, Cebu.
Alas 9:19 sa kabuntagon kamugihapon ni minaw sa programa ang Government Online kauban siyong higala JESSA AGUA-YLANAN nga nihulib sa regular host ning maong programa nga si Carmel Matus Pedroza. Adlaw nga Huwebes, Abril 11 tuig 2024, maayong pagsaulog sa mga nag-celebrate sa adlaw na tawhan karong adlaw. April 11 birthday celebrators. Happy Fiesta usab sa mga nag-celebrate sa mga kapistahan karong adlaw ug dunay mga anniversary ug mga importante nga mga milestone nga kasumaran karong adlaw. Ato nang kumustahon ang pagbisita sa atong presidente Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. and ang Philippine delegation. Lakip ang Philippine Media Delegation dito sa Washington DC sa Amerika. Diin base sa gipost sa Radio Television Malacañang sugat sa Joint Base Andrews Airport sa Washington DC, USA ang delegasyon sa Pilipinas sa mga tinugyanan sa United States of America. Dito ni tugpa ang delegation sa Pilipinas og dito kini sila gi abi-abi o gi-welcome sa Amerika ang Philippine delegation. Unya, lakip sa highlights dito mao ang gipahigayon nga press briefing kauban si John Kirby, ang Coordinator for Strategic Communications sa National Security Council sa White House. Diin, miatubang kini siya og mitubag sa mga pangutana sa atong mga kaubang tigbalita sa Pilipinas nga lakip sa Philippine Media Delegation sa Embassy of the Philippines in Washington DC, United States of America kagahapon or karon ng adlaw US time April 10. Apan di pa lamang na dugay publikar sa Radio Television Malacañang. Ania atong pakisayran.
Thanks for having me. Tomorrow, I think as you know, President Biden will welcome President Marcos to the White House for his second bilateral meeting at the White House in as many years. And of course, host the first ever trilateral leaders summit between the United States, Japan, and the Philippines. First, President Biden will meet bilaterally with President Marcos. The two presidents will mark the unprecedented strength of the alliance between the United States and the Philippines and underscore the historic achievements in bilateral relations since they last met at the White House in May of 2023. They will discuss initiatives to enhance economic and energy security, to bolster maritime cooperation, to invest in critical infrastructure, and of course to deepen people-to-people ties. President Biden will reinforce the ironclad U.S. alliance commitments to the Philippines. The two leaders will also discuss their shared commitment to democratic values, including respect for human rights and for internationally recognized labor rights. Following the bilateral meeting, the President will host the historic Trilateral Leaders Summit. As leading maritime democracies, the United States, the Philippines, and Japan share a joint vision for the future of the Indo-Pacific. And with this leader-level trilateral, we're going to be taking our cooperation to new heights, adding to our fit-for-purpose network of alliances and partnerships across the Indo-Pacific. Our national security advisors met in Tokyo last June to initiate this trilateral cooperation, and officials from across our three governments have met on topics as varied as economic security and maritime cooperation. For example, Secretary Raimondo will host her economic minister counterparts Thursday morning for a discussion on enhancing trilateral trade and investment. Our foreign ministers and vice foreign ministers have also met. The deliverables and the substance of all these engagements and this inaugural Leaders Summit builds on the momentum set forth. On Thursday, the leaders will announce new initiatives to accelerate and surge high-quality infrastructure investment in the Philippines, to enhance energy security, to deepen maritime cooperation, and to strengthen partnerships on technology and on cybersecurity. Our three countries embark on this new era of trilateral cooperation as trusted, equal partners, guided by shared values and an unwavering commitment to a free, open, peaceful, and prosperous Indo-Pacific. With President Marcos' visit, the Trilateral Summit, and of course the visit today of Prime Minister Kishida, this week will clearly illustrate President Biden's continued commitment to strengthening our key alliances and partnerships in the Indo-Pacific, innovating around shared challenges, and exploring new areas of cooperation. So we're very excited about this, about the visit today, but also very much about tomorrow's visit, bilaterally, and of course, trilaterally. And with that, we can take some questions. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for the morning. From TV5. I understand President Joe Biden had a phone call with President Xi Jinping, Chinese President Xi Jinping, a few days ago, discussing among some of the issues, including the South China Sea. How do you think it will shape the discussion tomorrow during the trilateral meeting, and what kind of support or solidarity are we expecting from the U.S. and Japan in terms of the increasing tension faced by the Philippines over the West Philippine Sea issue?
Again, I want to stress what I said in my opening statements, my comments. The purpose of the bilateral meeting and, of course, the trilateral meeting is to discuss a wide range of areas where we are deepening our partnerships, deepening our cooperation, again, across a wide range of issues, not just in the security framework. That said, of course, we've been watching with concern PRC activities in the South China Sea. And as I think you know, just a few days ago, we conducted some combined maritime patrols with it was included the United States, Australia, Japan, and the Philippines. And I would expect that the two leaders, when they have a chance to talk tomorrow, will clearly talk about the rising tensions in the South China Sea and talk, and I think it'll come up in the trilateral meeting as well, but really towards an eye towards what we can all do to better together to improve our maritime cooperation. And again, I'm sure that the leaders will have more to say at the end of it.
Sir Katrina Domingo from ABS-CBN News. Do we have a ballpark figure as to how much this new initiatives are worth with regard to at least the United States?
You're probably talking about the additional investment opportunities that we're
Yes, that will be announced tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not going to get ahead of the leaders when they'll have a chance to talk about that in more detail. But the president's very excited about the opportunities here for some joint investment and infrastructure opportunities in the Philippines for the first time, really, in the Indo-Pacific on this sort of scale. But I think I'd let the leaders talk about the details of that.
More question from March yesterday. What do you mean by that? Does this mean that the U.S. actually wants it to become legally binding?
I think what we're talking about is time we've done it tomorrow, which again is historic. But in terms of the president's view, I mean, who has put a premium on alliances and partnerships, you can't do these in a one-off kind of way. You gotta keep the progress going. You gotta keep the conversation going. You gotta look for opportunities to deepen that trilateral cooperation. So when we talk about institutionalizing, what we're talking about is finding ways to make trilateral cooperation between the United States, Japan, and the Philippines sustainable over the long haul. And just as critically, as I said earlier, a venue, a vehicle to talk about our cooperation on a range of fronts, not just from a security perspective, but economic, political, diplomatic, people to people. There's an awful lot of opportunity here between our three countries, and the president wants to explore how we can deepen that, but again, just as critically, keep it going long term. Yeah.
Sir, Alexis Romero of the Philippine Star. The U.S. has repeatedly expressed concern over China's activities in the South China Sea. With the upcoming trilateral summit, which is historic, can we expect something more than just strongly worded statements or joint patrols with regard to the U.S. involvement in the South China Sea?
Well, now, what do you want? What do you want to see?
So what can we expect after the trilateral summit? Will there be more than just strongly worded statements or something more concrete?
Well, with the caveat that I'm not going to get ahead of the leaders, they'll have more to say at the end of the trilateral summit. I'm sure we'll have conclusions that we can provide to y'all in terms of what was discussed and to what degree things were agreed to. But you've already seen combined maritime activity and patrols. We've said we want to look for opportunities to continue that sort of practice going forward. And we definitely want to look for opportunities to, as I said earlier, to make our trilateral cooperation more sustainable in the future across a range of issues. It's easy to look at all this, and I understand the desire to do it with an eye towards China. And I'm not suggesting that the tensions in the South China Sea aren't important and that we aren't concerned. I know President Biden is concerned about what we're seeing from the PRC, and particularly in the South China Sea, and these claims that they're trying to pursue. But what we're really after in tomorrow's meeting, both bilaterally and trilaterally, is deepening our partnerships for the good of the partnerships, for the good of the American people, the Japanese people, and certainly the Philippine people. It is not just, and you shouldn't take away from it, that these discussions are just all about China or all about how to counter their growing aggressiveness. Yes, that's a piece of it. But I would ask you to look at it from a more strategic perspective. These two countries, the Philippines and Japan, are treaty allies of the United States. And we take our treaty commitments very, very seriously. But our relationship is bigger than that. I mean, it's very easy to get hung up on the defense relationships, important as they are. But we shouldn't get hung up on that. There's a lot more to discuss here, and there's a lot more purpose to these meetings than just about what we're doing to react to PRC aggression. Another one?
Sir, good morning. Marise O'Malley of GMA7. I would just like to ask, in what ways does the Trilateral Summit contribute to a broader U.S. effort to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific region?
I kind of talked a little bit about that in the opening and certainly in some of these questions. But one of the first things that the president prioritized when he became president was to revitalize our vast network of alliances and partnerships. 5 of our 7 treaty alliances are in the Indo-Pacific region. And of course, Philippines is one of those 5. And the president really felt like those alliances and those partnerships needed to be rejuvenated, needed more attention, needed more respect. And he has done that. So he has worked at each and every one of those 5 alliances in the Pacific, individually, bilaterally. And of course that includes with the Philippines, and certainly with President Marcos. But he's done it with our Japanese counterparts, certainly done it with our South Korean counterparts. And he's also taken extra steps, not only to revitalize alliances and partnerships, but to forge new ones. For instance, prioritizing the Indo-Pacific Quad, by working with the United Kingdom and Australia on AUKUS, on trying to deliver a nuclear-powered submarine capability for Australia, by elevating our strategic partnerships with countries like Indonesia and Vietnam. And I'm actually going to land this plane and finish this answer, and by improving opportunities for our allies to cooperate together as well. So one of the things that he prioritized very early on was the bilateral relationship between Japan and South Korea. And those 2 countries now, because of great leadership in those 2 countries, are now developing stronger bilateral relations. And of course, we are also working on trilateral relationships getting better too. And that's the same approach that you're seeing here this week, tomorrow. It's about investing even more in our bilateral relationship with the Philippines, who we value as an equal, strong, vibrant partner, but also looking for ways to see if we can't knit together additional cooperative elements between now 3 countries, Japan, the United States, and the Philippines. This is all of a piece. If you go back and look at things that President Biden said when he first took office and everything he's done since then, what you're going to see tomorrow is just the next logical step in terms of improving alliances and partnerships. And your question is, well, why does that matter? How does that contribute? Because if you have more multinational cooperation, if you have deeper alliances and partnerships, then you can move the ball forward on so many other issues beyond just the security element. You really can improve opportunities for workers in all of our countries to prosper more. You can improve trade opportunities. You can look at how you can make more resilient supply chains on things like critical minerals. And certainly we can all address better in a collaborative way the challenges of climate change, which is going to affect us all in the Indo-Pacific. Everybody's going to prove vulnerable to that. So the president believes firmly that as powerful as the United States is, that we can't do everything. We shouldn't do everything. That we need friends and partners and allies to contribute on all these issues, and to, again, the rising tide lifts all boats, to raise standards of living and economic opportunities for everybody across the region.
I'm just curious, sir, how does the U.S. view the water attacks by China to the boats of the Philippines and the West Philippine Sea? Do you consider this as armed attack?
As I said, we've been watching those tensions with great concern, and we again urge the PRC to abide by the 2016 ruling, and to recognize, as we do, that the Second Thomas Shoal falls within the Philippine economic exclusion area. And we will continue to make that point. When the president spoke to President Xi, he very clearly made our concerns known about Chinese activities in the South China Sea.
One last from my end. You mentioned about the quadrilateral joint patrols by the Philippines, Japan, U.S., and Australia as well. How important are these joint patrols, considering that these moves would likely trigger a strong reaction from China?
I'd start by saying, well, certainly these patrols come in the context of the of the tensions over Second Thomas Shoal. They really are also, again, of a piece of President Biden's vision of improving multilateral cooperation in the region. And I can't speak for the PRC reaction one way or another, except to say there's no reason to overreact to this. This is about freedom of navigation. It's about adherence to international law. It's about proving the simple point that we and our allies will fly, sail, and operate wherever international law permits us to do. And it does in the South China Sea, and we did. And I think you can look forward to additional opportunities for us to conduct those kinds of maritime patrols. But they are really about reconfirming a simple principle about international maritime law and international waters.
Thank you. This is Ken Sasaki of Japanese Kyodo News. I wish to ask you about the Japanese self-defense force involvement of this trilateral cooperation. And also you mentioned about the nuclear-powered submarine, which can be strategically important to protect the international order in the sea. Do you request Philippine side to accommodate nuclear-powered submarines or nuclear-powered aircraft carriers to enhance security in the region?
You mean like for port visits?
Yes. And also, how Japanese self-defense force can be involved into the maritime cooperation. For example, you are having a bilateral exercise annually. I meant Kamantag or Balikatan or Sama-sama.
Balikatan's coming up too.
Yeah. Are you going to welcome Japanese self-defense force as a permanent member for these exercises?
So in your first question, that would be up to the Philippine government to speak to, not something that we would speak to in terms of what vessels they might permit port visits. We've, I think as you know, been working very well with the Philippine government on increased access to Philippine military sites for purposes of humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, pre-positioning and training and improving our interoperability. And that has only accelerated under President Marcos's leadership. So we're very grateful for that. But again, what that could portend in terms of Navy ships and port visits, I'd let the Philippine government speak to that. But we're grateful for, just on a bilateral basis, the improved cooperation that we've been seeing between us and our Philippine counterparts. It's been truly remarkable. And as for your second question, that wouldn't also be a United States position or decision to make. We welcome, as we have across many exercises in the Indo-Pacific, the participation of Japanese self-defense forces. I mean, these are modern forces, very capable and extremely interoperable with our own. We have a terrific relationship with the Japanese self-defense forces, and I would look for that relationship to continue to improve. And obviously, to the degree that Japan is willing, able, and wants to participate in multinational exercises, we would, of course, welcome that.
Additionally, one more question. Are you welcome to accept Japanese self-defense forces to EDCA site, additional EDCA sites, so that
to
they
additional
could,
exercises?
Yeah, EDCA site.
Okay. I'm sorry. Say the question again.
Are you welcome to accept the Japanese forces to these EDCA sites, which is now numbered 9?
Those extra sites.
Yeah. To organize these
Okay, I'm sorry.
exercises.
It took me a while to understand where you're going. Again, that's going to be that's a discussion that appropriately has to take place between the Japanese government and the Philippine government. We have been very grateful for the increased access that we have been able to see, particularly under President Marcos's leadership, And we look forward to, again, deepening our cooperation military to military, but that would really, your question's really better put to both of those governments to talk about. That would be something that that would be appropriate for me to talk to. Yeah.
Sir, I'm Gabe Alu from Inquirer. Just want to, of course, you have an elections this year. How can the United States as a government assure the Philippines that these high in these relations, these ties would continue whatever the results may be? I mean, I don't want to sound political. I don't want to go there, but we are not sure what will happen this November. But how can the United States assure that these ties would continue?
What I can assure you and the Philippine people, and of course President Marcos and his team, is that as long as President Biden is Commander-in-Chief, as long as he's the President of the United States, we will continue to work hard at this relationship and do everything we can to improve it, because it's so important. All by itself, it's so important. And then when you throw it in, when you're able to look at things like trilateral or quadrilateral cooperation, it becomes all the more relevant, particularly about, when we look at what's going on in the South China Sea. Because I work in the National Security Council, I am not allowed to talk about, nor will I talk about the election. All I can tell you, and again, as convincingly as I can, is that for as long as President Biden is President of the United States, the Philippine people can count on him and this team.
Makato ang briefing, kauban ang Philippine Media Delegation, kauban si John Kirby, ang coordinator sa Strategic Communications sa National Security Council sa White House, diin naakaron ni bisita sa iyang opisyal nga pagbisita or kining working visit ni President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. sa Washington, D.C. Ang kadto nga briefing gipahigayon sa Philippine Embassy sa Washington, D.C. diin giatubang ni Kirby ang mga tigbalita gikan sa Pilipinas nga kauban sa Philippine Media Delegation ni President Marcos Jr. Atol na sa iyang pagbisita sa Amerika aron mas palapdan ug palawman ang kooperasyon ug ang mga polisiya nga makabenepisyo sa Amerika ug sa Pilipinas. Lakip na ni ana ang kining apan matod ni Kirby di sab siya muhisgot bahin na sa territorial dispute tungod kay wa man kini silay legally and politically wa man kini silay labot sa atong political dispute with our neighboring countries, particular o specifically ang sa nasod sa China. So ang concern sa maong relasyon sa Pilipinas ug sa Amerika mao ang pagpalambo sa economic ties ug uban pa cultural ties ug uban pa nga mga kining panagbayluanay sa duha ka mga nasod. Alas 9:45 palabang tang nahibilin set sa atong mga pahinumdum mo balik ang government online.
This is a public service announcement. Isang paalala mula sa National Telecommunications Commission, National Capital Region o NTC-NCR. Ang kanilang Oplan Contra Text Scams. Binabalaan ng publiko na sakaling kayo ay makatanggap ng kakaibang text messages sa mga di kilalang numero o di kaya ay mga text messages na may kahina-hinalang mga link. Huwag pansinin, huwag pindutin, huwag i-click ang link. Ipagbigay alam agad sa NTC website ntc.gov.ph o kaya'y sumulat sa kanilang email na contratextcam@gmail.com. Sa mga panahong ito, huwag padaya, maging wais na magla. Makibahagi sa Oplan Contra Text Scam. This is a public service announcement. From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service and Radyo Pilipinas.
Traffic sa araw-araw na lang ay napakalala at talaga namang nakakaubos ng oras. Kaya naman ang problemang ito ay isa sa mga nais talagang bigyan solusyon ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
What the President really wants is a comprehensive, holistic approach to solving the traffic problem. Hindi yung piecemeal approach, no? As has been the case all these years. No?
Ito ang ibinahagi ni NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan matapos Matapos ang cabinet meeting na pinangunahan ng Pangulo para solusyonan ang malalang traffic at isaayos ang transportasyon sa Metro Manila dahil malaki na ang epekto nito sa ekonomiya ng bansa.
For example, in the planning of our transport system, we should be looking at intermodal transport system and see how they operate efficiently as a whole. We are building now the subway. We are building other expressways, bridges connecting Bataan and Cavite, and so on. But this have to be seen in the context of all the other transport systems, including bike lanes, motorcycle lanes like that, and as well as the feeder roads, and including the location of industries, residences, and so on. And that's the direction of the President.
Para sa iba pang mga balita at impormasyon, manatiling nakatutok. Tapat sa pag-uulat, Radyo Pilipinas.
This is a public service announcement.
Ingatan ang sarili mula sa banta ng pertussis. Ang pertussis o whooping cough ay isang nakakahawang bacterial respiratory infection na dulot ng Bacterium Bordetella pertussis o Bordetella parapertussis. Ito ay may sintomas ng pag-ubo na may kasamang mababang lagnat at sipon na maaaring magtagal ng 1 hanggang 2 linggo. Madali itong naipapasa sa kahit kanino sa pamamagitan ng pag-ubo at pagbahing. Ang pertussis ay nagagamot ng antibiotics pero mas mainam pa rin na magpabakuna para ito ay maiwasan. Ayon sa Department of Health, inaasahan na darating mga karagdagang bakuna sa mga susunod na buwan. Gayunpaman, una nang protektahan ang sarili na huwag mahawa o makahawa ng pertussis sa pamamagitan ng pagpapanatili ng good personal hygiene o pagsusuot ng face mask.
This is a public service announcement. From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, and Radyo Pilipinas. This is a public service announcement.
Good news! Isa ng ganap na batas, ang Republic Act No. 11984 o ang No Permit, No Exam Prohibition Act. Matapos itong lagdaan ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. Sa ilalim nito, ang lahat ng estudyante na may unpaid school fees ay papayagan ng makakuha ng periodic at final exams. Sakop nito ang lahat ng public at private basic institutions o K-12, higher educational institutions o HEIs at technical vocational institutions o TVIs. Naninindigan ang ating pamahalaan sa karapatan ng bawat batang Pilipino na magkaroon ng maayos na edukasyon at hindi ito dapat mahadlangan dahil sa mga hindi mabayarang school fees.
This is a public service announcement. From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, and Radyo Pilipinas.
For 53 years, the people suffered
from heartless communist terrorists
who killed thousands and are killing thousands more.
They destroyed families, our youth, and their dreams.
There should be accountability for human rights abuses and IHL violations.
Our people have had enough of this senseless violence.
Thousands have already surrendered
for genuine peace and development.
Together, victory will be ours.
This is a public service announcement.
Sa nararanasan nating matinding init ng panahon, maging ligtas at iwasan ang heat exhaustion at heat stroke. Regular na uminom ng tubig. Magsuot ng light-colored, presko at maluluwag na damit. Siguruhing may sapat na ventilasyon ang inyong mga tahanan. Maligo para mapreskohan ang katawan. Basahin na malamig na tubig ang balat kapag nagsimulang makaramdam ng pagkahilo o pag-init ng katawan. Kung maaari, huwag lumabas sa mga oras ng pinakamainit na sikat ng araw, partikular sa pagitan ng alas 11 ng umaga hanggang alas 3 ng hapon. Kung lalabas naman, ay magdala ng payong, pamaypay o minifan, face towel at huwag kalimutan ang inuming tubig. Kapag nakaramdam ng pagkahapo, matinding pagkahilo, panghihina o may kakilalang nawalan ng malay dahil sa init ng panahon, agad na magtungo at humingi ng tulong sa pinakamalapit na health facility sa inyong lugar.
This is a public service announcement. From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, and Radyo Pilipinas.
Ngayong panahon ng El Niño, narito ang ilan sa maaari nating gawin para makapagtipid ng tubig. Laging siguruhing sarado at walang tulo ang mga gripo kapag hindi ginagamit. I-check ang mga tubo kung may tagas at ipaayos agad kung mayroon. Imbes na mag-shower, gumamit ng balde at tabo sa pagligo. Gumamit rin ng baso pag nagsisipilyo. Gumamit ng plangganang may sapat na tubig kapag naguhugas ng mga kaldero, plato at iba pang pinagkainan para maiwasan ang tuloy-tuloy na pagdaloy ng tubig sa gripo. Ipunin ang used water at ito ang gamiting pang-flush sa toilet. I-report agad ang mga makikitang illegal water connections, gayon din ang mga unauthorized na pag-iigib sa mga fire hydrants. Ito ay mga simpleng paraan lamang, ngunit sa ating kooperasyon ay malaking bagay ito upang masigurong sapat ang ating water supply sa lahat ng panahon. Isang paalala mula sa Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas. Traffic sa araw-araw na lang ay napakalala at talaga namang nakakaubos ng oras. Kaya naman ang problemang ito ay isa sa mga nais talagang bigyan solusyon ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
What the President really wants is a comprehensive, holistic approach to solving the traffic problem. Hindi yung piecemeal approach, no? As has been the case all these years. No?
Ito ang ibinahagi ni NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan matapos ang cabinet meeting na pinangunahan ng Pangulo para solusyonan ang malalang traffic at isaayos ang transportasyon sa Metro Manila dahil malaki na ang epekto nito sa ekonomiya ng bansa.
For example, in the planning of our transport system, we should be looking at intermodal transport system and see how they operate efficiently as a whole. We are building now the subway. We are building other expressways, bridges connecting Bataan and Cavite, and so on. But this have to be seen in the context of all the other transport system, including bike lanes, motorcycle lanes like that, and as well as the feeder roads, and including the location of industries, residences, and so on. And that's the direction of the President.
Para sa iba pang mga balita at impormasyon, manatiling nakatutok. Tapat sa pag-uulat, Radyo Pilipinas.
Dili importante kung kinsa ka o si kinsa sila. Ang sexual harassment kay sexual harassment. Kung ikaw nakasinati niini, ayaw kahadlok o gisumbong, dili okay ang sexual harassment. Usa ka pahinumdum gikan sa DYMR Radyo Pilipinas, Cebu.
Kini ang Government Online. Kauban si JESSA AGUA-YLANAN sa Radyo Pilipinas, Cebu.
Alas 9:53 nasa kabuntagon yan natas panapos nga bahin sa atong programa nga Government Online atong tan-aw ng lakat sa panahon medyo init gihapon ta dinhi sa Sugbo no apan kagabi pipila ka mga dapit ang nakasinati sa pag-uwan tig sa naol na lang miani kay wa mi naapil ang northern portion of Sogod, portion of Tuburan ug Bourbon kagabi pasado alas 10 nakasinati to silang pag-uwan no nalipay taon ang atong mga mag-uuma din ang dapita og mga plantito-plantita kay ang ilang mga tanom na kuan uwanan gyud taon. As for today, ang atong temperature range dinhi sa atua sa Metro Cebu and the rest of Cebu province ana sa 27 to 33 degrees Celsius, light to moderate ang kadagatan. Tagbilaran City and the rest of Bohol province 26 to 31 degrees Celsius, slight to moderate ang kadagatan. Dumaguete City and the rest of Negros Oriental and Siquijor 26 to 31 degrees Celsius. Arita sa Eastern Visayas, Tacloban City and the rest of Leyte 25 to 32 degrees Celsius ang temperatura ug ang kadagatan slight to moderate. Maasin City and the rest of Southern Leyte 25 to 35 degrees Celsius ang temperature, slight to moderate ang kadagatan. Ang Borongan City and the rest of Eastern Samar 24 to 31 degrees Celsius ang temperature ug slight to moderate ang kadagatan. Samtang ang Catbalogan City and the rest of Samar and Biliran 24 to 36 degrees Celsius mo nang mag-inom gitag tubig, magsulob ta og komportabling sapot og as much as possible atong i-check atong kaugalingon kung na-dehydrate na ba ko every now and then og stay indoors ilabi na kining oras nga udtong tutok og kining mga oras nga purting inita mga kaigsuunan. Wala gito igong oras sa pupus natong pagpanag-uban sa di pa nato itakling atong broadcast dito sa DZRB Radyo Pilipinas Manila. Balik ta sa mga balita ug mabalik ang atong local program niyang alauna alang sa gabay tulay. Daghang salamat, maayong buntag.
Serving the Republic of the Philippines for more than 75 years. Ito po ang